So its profile should be literally underneath of the upper lip. The upper lip should come out more than the bottom lip, especially when they're smiling. So we've got some creases here from where I laid that clay over the first layer of clay. I'm going to try to get rid of them real quick. Alright, my smile is a little asymmetrical, but again, for a character face, that's not the end of the world. All adds to his personality. And again, we're at this elfy phase, and that's not a bad thing. If you wanted to make this an elf, you put his little Santa hat on, his little elfy hat on, and there's not much more you'd have to do other than smoothing and making the nostrils. So here's our smile forming up, and I want to get this lip Men typically don't have very full lips, so we can keep moving this clay around. Don't have to add just yet. Alright, shape's looking good. A little more full on that side than the other side. Alright. I kind of like that little pucker there. Okay. So now I'm going to create this nostril. You can get the flanges back a little bit by rolling down on the top of the nose. That pulls them back in a little bit. We're going to take your tool and you want to create the septum. The septum is the space here between the nostrils. So you want to figure out where your center line is, and it should be, your center line should be equal to the space that's on this lip. So you want to establish where the septum is. And you can see the septum. And then you can use either this tool, or you can use this tool, or you can use pretty much anything. What you're going to do is pull, I like this one because it's flat on one side. You're going to push in and you're going to pull out. Push in and pull out. Okay, there's the start of your nostrils. Now the nostrils, unless you're making a piggy, this nose should not be perfectly flat. So you're going to want to push the nostrils back, because the septum should come forward. So as you're doing this, if you put a little downward pressure on the nose, you start to see the septum come forward, and your nostrils are going to flare out, because when you smile, that's what they do. So you want to put a little more pressure and get them to flare out like so. Okay, when you look at your profile, let's see, look at the profile, you can see the septum comes down this way. The nostrils are flared out. You can tap into the nose there. Okay, the nostrils get a little definition on the side. Make sure you're in the same groove each time. And the nostril, the interior of it, should flow from right next to the septum right down into that upper lip. If it is not, then you want to amend that. So you can use your brush and smooth that line. If you didn't leave yourself enough clay to have a smooth transition for the septum, then you would want to add a little bit of clay here. But also you want to look at it from multiple angles and decide if you're content with the shape. If you want more of a bump, you can add more clay, or you can reach in like this and distort. You're kind of lifting the clay, and you see the more of a Santa shape to his nose now. Okay, so we're going to do some more smoothing. Now this inner corner of the eye here actually is a little puffy. This side has the natural drop. The eye has a curve to it. On this older gentleman, the eye is a little overshadowed by the eyelid, but it should still curve. You should still see the white. Should still see the white when you look at the profile, and you should have an indent on the inside corner of the eye where it recesses back a little as the eye rounds. So you don't want to go too deep, but you want to maintain that shape. There should be a curve. Okay. And again, character face, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But I'm primarily a realistic sculptor, so even when I try to do character faces, I tend to overthink it. You can simplify that. It's totally up to you what your aesthetic is, what you like. Okay. Alright, looks pretty good. Alright, now. Okay, so next step is wrinkles. And one of the things that I do, if you want to have realistic wrinkles, then you don't want to just cut into the clay. When you use a tool directly on the clay and you draw your lines, you can see that what you have looks like a channel, because it literally cuts a straight line into it like this. But that's not how a wrinkle looks, and I'm making this big to emphasize. The way that a wrinkle looks is actually like this, and this is pretty thin plastic for this demonstration, but when you have a wrinkle on your body, see, release, it rounds. See how you have this unnatural straight line, this 90-degree corner? Whereas with the plastic, you have a rounded corner. It rounds this way, and it rounds this way. Now, if you could take your tool and get that same effect just with the tool, then you don't need the plastic. But when you're working really small like this, it's hard to achieve that. So if you put your creases, and let's say we want to have and you want something small to use but not sharp, so you want to make your creases on the forehead. You're going to get nice lines without and creases don't always go all the way across. Sometimes they're like a dot and dash sort of thing. And most older gentlemen wear glasses for a reason, because they can't really see very well. So there's typically some squinting lines between the eyes, and they're going to be on the softer side. You can soften them again, depending on the tool that you use. Okay. When you smile, you can use heavier or thinner plastic, depends on the effect you want. I find most of the time that this works just fine. The creases coming off of the eye tend to radiate outward. And they also follow the lines when you smile. And you want the plastic to get down into the lines. And they'll also pucker in around the face. It always helps, and I'm going to put a picture in here that is probably the wrinkliest person I have ever seen, but it is a great source, a roadmap, if you will, for how and where to put your wrinkles, because it shows worst case scenario on how wrinkles affect the face. He's smiling very fully, and they are following exactly the lines you would expect. So that's a start, but you should be able to see we're starting to get our wrinkles. And with an older man's face, you want some texture. So believe it or not, your fingerprints are not a bad thing. It just adds a little bit of extra texture to the face without you having to sit and draw a million little bitty lines. Now, the chin is going to be below his beard. The mustache area here is going to be below his beard. I'm going to give him some puffy eyebrows as well. But the general face shape, you want to make sure that you keep it lined up the way you want. Okay, above the eye, we're going to add some creases into this eyelid, because it would not be perfectly smooth, now would it? So we're going to add some creases across the eyelid, and a lot of this will stay very faint, and below we're going to do the same little creases, and they're going to follow along the curve of the eye. Okay, and I'm going to pause. Okay, and his smile is going to throw a couple creases onto his nose, and we're going to add a few more above the bridge here. Hard to balance the desire. Okay, and you're going to have a few imperfect pores on the nose, usually. You don't want to make them too drastic. Do them through the plastic and be gentle. You only need the indication of it. You don't actually need to go out of your way. Now, creases down here are not really going to show because of the beard and the mustache, but I'm going to draw some in. And here is another opportunity to use the plastic to help you get your laugh lines around the mouth the way you want them, because the skin is going to react. You have some lines on the cheek where the smile puckers the skin. Okay, and the forehead, these lines around the eyes are going to come up into the forehead. And like I said, these lines, they kind of follow a curve, and they react to the rest of the face muscles when this guy smiles. So as you can see, we went from young elf to older man pretty quickly there. And the extremeness of the wrinkles is up to you. You can keep him mildly youthful and jolly by keeping the creases from being too exaggerated. And you can continue to tweak. You can flare those nostrils out a little more. It all increases his personality. But there's our little Santa head. Okay, and you can exaggerate and make the cheeks bigger, and you can indent more on the corners of the mouth, push that smile up a little more. You can open up the mouth and put teeth in. It's entirely up to you. But for this project, I want a pleasant but understated Santa grin. Just a nice little smile. And you would, well, I'm just going to do it. You can also add and bring those smile lines on down around onto the face. It's not, like I said, it's not going to really show, but it's texture. It's additional texture. And you can add more little imperfections wherever you want them. You can also lighten the weight here above the eye a little more. This guy's pretty chubby. He'd be a pretty chubby Santa. And that just establishes that brow line a little more. Yep, he's quite a happy fellow. Okay, so on to the next step. Okay, so now what you want to do is take this plastic and cover the face so that you can hold it. And you want to peel back the foil and gently lift out. When I say gently, you don't want to be squeezing the face, but you want to lift out that foil backing. Okay, and you're going to remove this foil layer and get the eyes out. Gentle twist, gently. Okay. And look at what you're doing on the front, because you don't want to misshape the face while you get them out. Alright, I find that if I spin them just a little bit, they pop out pretty easy. Just gently twist, gently twist back and forth. If you lack hand strength like I do, because of my carpal tunnel. You can grab a pair of pliers just to give you a little better grip. And gently twist. Okay, now we have our little face minus the eyes. Okay, and we are going to put this back in place. That's what we're release. You don't want the face to collapse. You're going to line up the eye holes, and you're just going to re-support that face. Okay, so there's that, and we're off to the oven. Okay, so we're out of the oven. The foil has all been removed from the back. Leaves kind of a mess, but it's not going to show. Now you can safely reinsert the eyes, and the other advantage is that you can now reposition these eyes if you would like to. That's kind of fun. You can have him looking to the side, or you can have him looking to this side, straight ahead, up a little, down a little, wherever you want them, and then you glue them in place, and it maintains that look. So I'm probably going to center them. You would have the ability to move his eyes. You can even make them cross-eyed if you want. Just for fun. But anyway, so that's this face. Okay, super quick beard and mustache tutorial. You can use loose hair, which in this case has been cut off of a fur pelt, and you can take sections of it, apply fabric tack, and then you're going to glue it. You typically don't want to let it dry before you glue it, but for demonstration purposes it was necessary to go ahead and let that dry. But you would glue enough sections of it to the face that it covers and gives you the look. You can use different lengths to get the look that you want. There's all kinds of different types of hair that you can get, and you cut off small sections like this and you glue them in place in layers, one section, another section, another section, until you get the coverage that you want, creating either the hair or the beard or the mustache. And you want to use less hair rather than a ton of hair, but you can see where your glue seam is. When you have glued this down, you can take your scissors and snip off the ends and make tiny little hair clippings. It's flocking. And then you'll take that flocked material and Elmer's glue, or you can use Aleene's fabric tack. You just want some tiny little hair clippings. These are so small you almost cannot see them. They're very small. It looks like dust. And you want to take that glue and right where your glue line is, you want to, after your fabric tack has dried, you want to put a little bit of the white drying glue, your Elmer's or your Aleene's, and then you want to sprinkle these little clippings onto that area. Not too heavy, not too thin, but what it does is it camouflages the glue, because the fabric tack has a tendency to dry a little bit shiny. I don't know if you can see it in this. Maybe you can see on the back more. It has a tendency to dry shiny, and you really don't want that to show on your piece. The other method, which is a little simpler for a first-time application, or if you want to just go a little quicker, is to literally cut out a beard shape. What you're going to do with your glue is you're going to, along the edge where it would hit the face, you want to cut the fur at a slight angle so that it runs along the face. You want to curve. Okay, so now we have the curve. You don't want it flat across. Pull away the excess hair. Okay, now you can use that piece that you trimmed off as your mustache if you want, by taking again the glue and coming and putting glue along the top edge all the way across and folding it over. And yes, I always get glue all over me when I do this. And I do these more for the crafty projects. You wouldn't want to do it this way on a high-end, one-of-a-kind doll. This is more for your crafty kind of project, or for somebody who's not used to dealing with the loose fur, because it can be a messy job. But what you do is you convert that little piece of fur into a fake mustache. And you can come back and glue the bottom the same way if you want to. And you're going to bring your outer corner in on both sides. And then you can see there's your mustache. And you would thin that down and shape it, obviously. I'm just trying for the video to go a little bit quicker. You do the same thing on this side. You're going to paint the edge with the glue where it would come and meet the face, and you're going to turn it over onto itself. And the reason to do this is it gives you a soft edge so that when you apply it to the face, all you see is the fur. You don't see the backing. And then you come in with your beard. Now, you would also do this to every edge. You wouldn't just do this to the top edge, but for the sake of keeping the video short, I'm just doing this to this edge. And then you're going to apply glue again, and you're going to glue this to the face so that the lip remains exposed. Bring it around to the cheek. Here comes your mustache. Obviously you would paint the face first, but I don't have time for that for the sake of this video. So here is your beard and mustache, the quick and easy way. You can use the same kind of fur to do the hair, or if you have it, you can use a natural hair, which I like to mix them up because the transition, because the beard hair on a real person is much coarser than the hair, and it's usually a slightly different color too. So there's your Santa beard. And thank you for watching. The next video will be a different style ornament.